A very warm welcome along, everybody, to the Big Five Racing Podcast. Wonderful to have you all on board into the February slate of National Hunt Racing, and we are now one spring festival down, three more to go. Possibly not a Dublin Racing Festival that will live all too long in the emotional memory, but after the abandonment on Saturday, we did manage to squeeze in the 2 days of racing with a whole host of Grade 1s, which we will unpack shortly. Full house again. And not getting the chance to pay out on the result last week, Cotty, after a massive drift out to 2-1 in the Guinness X Trials Day market, yes, paid out in the biggest banker since Frankel was 15 clear of the bushes. But January is into the bank now, and the rains, of course, can come off and get excited towards March. Trials Day was tough sledging, really, wasn't it? And just to get a comment on you from, you missed the podcast last week, kind of just what you made of the card as a whole and what we could have taken out of Trials Day.
We can't really take a fat lot out of it, I don't think. Where to start? Jaguar, bitterly disappointing. I've watched the race back and I just can't get my head around how it's lost. John Joe O'Neill could have took a few more chances at fences. He kind of pulls them back just before he jumps, which I don't really understand too much. Was pretty weak as piss in the finish as well. So that was a tough enough beat to take. Shocking about Sagino. That was, Cheltenham was silent as soon as it happened. That was very sad, and thankfully it's not as bad as it first looked. So that's some good news, and hopefully he'll be back next season. Grey Dawning was a bit disappointing for me. I thought, you can use it as a prep run and whatnot, but I thought, he'd be able to take those two in his stride, and he didn't. So no, I can't see that winning a Gold Cup. And then Impostoir on the stairs, maybe just a few too many runs caught up with him, but the winner was very, very impressive, and I think that'll be bang there in March. But apart from that, not too much really to report on.
Yeah, difficult enough, really. Me and Matty spoke about it last week, and I didn't take anything out of Trials Day that I thought was going to just rebound back and win the festival. Maybe Spillane Tower has a crack in a Ryanair now with the shape of JP's horses kind of moving left, right, and centre. But bar that, it's very difficult to fancy anything, but at least it is in the books. If we were doing Hero of the Week performances, Matty, it'd have to go to the ground staff at Leopardstown. A Herculean effort to get the DRF on, and we're going to dive into some of the contests shortly. But in one word, as we mentioned last week, needing this meeting to be able to help us figure out Cheltenham clues, yes or no, did we get that, and then why?
Oh,
Starting off on fire this week.
I'd probably say no over yes, but I think we definitely seen more clues than we did from Trials Day, but not as many as I was expecting, or potentially others were expecting. Like you mentioned, superb effort from the Leopardstown ground staff. Gutted it wasn't on Saturday. I was really looking forward to a day in front of the telly. Sadly, obviously, we're all back to work on Monday, so couldn't focus too much, but managed to watch, as much as I could. Some great performances, like you said, not the fairy tales we were after with some, but I think quality racing all the same, and still plenty more questions than answers left going into Cheltenham though.
It feels that way, definitely, and what we're going to do shortly is kind of assess the best performances and what kind of the markets are shaping up like. We've got a great section coming up with Cotty here very momentarily as well, and to kind of assess what was the best of the action from Leopardstown. And it took us a bit of a +1 on the calendar, like we mentioned there, to get the meeting concluded, but thankfully we did get the full DRF into the books, and between now and Cheltenham in 5 weeks, it's essentially the masthead for market moves and performances to help build any final anti-post plays that you may already have on or are looking to put on in the next couple of weeks. A few fantastic efforts from those two who kind of had something to prove, and that was the main theme I took away from Dublin. Horses were winning that had to prove that they had a chance of winning in March. that was the kind of the main theme for the top races at the Dublin Racing Festival. Market talk quickly before we get into those races then, Cot. It is now 5-4, the festival. The two shortest priced horses are Lossiemouth in a defection to the Mares Hurdle again, and we'll break down the Irish champion in a second, and Lulamba for the Arkle is the other shorty who's hopefully going to run this weekend. Take a second with this, because we're entering a bit of a betting dynamic here that we would associate more closely to the flat in terms of market value, prices, open fields, more competitive races. How does that change your punting perspective, firstly, in the next 4 weeks, and then during the actual festival week itself?
I mean, I'll probably, bar the odd free bets that you get, I won't be putting any of me own money down now for Cheltenham between now and 1:30 on the Tuesday. I just think there's so many horses that can go for, so many races, and it's just it's not worth the hassle, waking up, making, seeing if they're all right for starters, getting there, and then, people reporting something, and then you think, oh God, and then 5 minutes later, it's like the owner comes out and says, no, don't listen to him, we haven't made our mind up, blah, blah. So I think between now and Cheltenham, it's just, just doing your research and checking trends and just watching the racing day to day and see if you can pick up any hints. I mean, I was watching Ludlow this afternoon, and I found one that won a Hunter Chase nicely, so I'll be having a go on that on the Friday at Cheltenham if it runs. It's just things like that, Use your own head and use your own research instead of going off what other people have been told and whatnot. I think that normally stands you in good stead.
Mm-hmm. With this betting dynamic being a bit different now this year, with no odds-on shots like we're typically used to, we normally have something odds-on in the Queen Mother, in the Champion Hurdle, a couple of the novice races that Willie would have favourites in. We don't have that this year because there hasn't been many particular standout horses, and it's all kind of confounded the market very closely together. Do you enjoy that betting challenge? Because obviously now it's going to be so much more difficult, in essence, to pick a winner, but the reward is now 5 times better than it typically would be. So do you prefer a market in this state of play rather than the years gone by where we've had the short price favourites?
It's a good question, because not all odds on horses should be odds on. I could look at Lulamba at 5-4, and in my head that should be 4-7, for example. So I think the best way to look at it is it's a long old week. The best way to make money is backing singles.
Yes,
that's the number one rule. Is when you bet, the easiest way to make money is to bet singles. And I think, with the races this year being so open, I think it's also crucial to stick to, one horse a race, because you see people have 3-4 bets a race, and they bang in an 8-1 winner. But if you back 4 horses, it's a 2-1 winner, isn't it?
yeah.
Or, well, less than that. It's a 5-4 winner. If you have a tenner on 4 horses in a race, and you're running around with an 8-1 winner, well, you've got 90 quid back, but you've put 40 on, so you've had a 5-4 winner. So for me, it will be bet singles and stick to one horse a race. I mean, there's no harm in, if you fancy a 3-1 shot and you have 20 quid on it, and you like one at 18s and you have a dabble on that each way, that's fine. But yeah, for me, it will be back singles and stick to as little bets as possible per race.
Yeah, I like that. Keeping it simple really seems to be the theme that we're going to take through this year when we do our Cheltenham Festival previews. I mean, I doubt there's going to be many doubles, trebles that we're trying to get up, and that might be for the best, because so often we see these muggy fourfolds or whatever we call it. I remember on the Tuesday last year we had the Copeck to Board, Majborough, Lossiemouth and Cornhill. Only 2 of them won, so it's very difficult to get those in, but if you'd had 4 singles, you probably would have been close to breaking even. So it's very interesting there, the insight towards betting to the festival. The last clues that we got, of course, came from the Dublin Racing Festival over the last concurrent couple of days. We will start with one of the big talking races of the entire weekend. Happened on the Sunday. It was the Timeless Sash Windows Irish Champion Hurdle. Brighterdaysahead reversed the form of Lossiemouth from Christmas, went off the 11-4 second favourite, and stayed clear the entire way round. Under Jack Kennedy, won by 3 1/4 lengths. Matty, when we did the DRF preview last week, we didn't really give much time towards Brighter Days Ahead. You dismissed it pretty quickly. I didn't really fancy the chances of this form being reversed. A lot of things to kind of take out, really, because the ground was obviously incredibly testing for these horses. It didn't look like Lossiemouth was given the hardest of time by Paul Townend, but likely by design, knowing, of course, March is her bigger target. But in terms of talking about the winner, Brighter Days Ahead, stayed very prominent throughout, jumped nicely, had a good engine under her, and I don't know if she's booked her ticket towards winning the Champion Hurdle, but this was impressive nonetheless.
Yeah, no, it was impressive. Like I said, the ground was very tricky. You could tell Paul Townend wasn't holding on to much turning in. He was constantly, he didn't want to go for Lossiemouth too soon. I think he knew, the petrol gauge was pretty empty underneath him. Yeah, I think it's not the biggest surprise in the world. I mean, a lot of people fancied Brighter Days Ahead to reverse the form, so she did. She definitely puts booked her place for the Champion Hurdle in what is now probably one of the wider open grade ones of the whole festival. So yeah, absolutely, she's got to be there. Gordon's mentioned she's had issues both times she's gone. Well, definitely last time. And Jack Kennedy didn't give her the greatest ride in the Mayor's Novice the year before. So why not? It's always just, disappointing, not disappointing, sad in a way to see Lossiemouth get beat. She's been a fantastic mare and she still ran her heart out. I think that all but confirms she'll end up in the Mayor's Hurdle. She's probably the certainty of the festival in that race because I don't think anything gets near to her in that race. But yeah, Brighter Days Ahead definitely has chucked her hat in the ring for the Champion Hurdle.
And Lossiemouth's defeat leaves the Champion Hurdle 5-2 now. Cotty, like Matty said, they're wide open. The new line at the top of the market. BDA goes in at 3s. Cotton Hill Came for Money is now 5-1. And then you're into Lossiemouth, Golden Ace, Poneros, etc. So it's probably between the top 3-4 in the market for the Champion Hurdle. Off of the display from Brighter Days Ahead at the weekend, knowing that Cheltenham's not typically been the place she's performed best at, would you go near her for winning a Champion Hurdle?
Nah, not a chance. No, I think they're running the Champion Hurdle last year. Yeah, no, you can't win the Mares. She couldn't win the Champion Hurdle last year when there was no real excuse. I mean, Constitution Hill fell that day. I think everyone's just hoping Constitution Hill can have a clear round, and it will be as easy as that, won't it? If he stays on his feet. Yeah, I was maybe a bit disappointed with Lossiemouth. I think the writing was on the wall a long way out on Sunday. The head carriage.
Do you think if Paul Townend had killed her to try and win that race, it would have made a difference?
No.
Definitely not.
The head. You could see the way she was carrying her head from pretty much the start that she wasn't really enjoying it, and I just think you listen to like Ruby Walsh and that, and I think when they go that quick for so long, I just don't think she enjoys it, and like Matty said, if she goes to the Mares, then she'd have to be a certainty, even though the mare Woodoo looks pretty special. I think Lossiemouth is a generational mare over that trip, and yeah, no one would get near that on a good going day in the Mares Hurdle, I don't think.
Interesting. I wouldn't write Brighter Days Ahead off too quickly for the Champion Hurdle. I think she's a much better horse now than she was a year ago.
Why? Why?
Just because to have run Lossiemouth as close as she did at Christmas, like with not a lot going for her in that dimension, and then to perform on a very heavy 2 miles the way she did at Leopardstown, I just feel more. I don't tend to like horses that defect from what they were going to do at the start of the season. Obviously, BDA was supposed to go chasing, but for Gordon to have hammered this horse so consistently now over 2 miles for the best part of 3 seasons and 2 in open company, agree, Cheltenham's not her best place, and if they decided to go to Aintree over it, it might make more sense. But I can't rule her out. I mean, I look at the other horses in that Champion Hurdle market. The New Lion still hasn't amazed me. Cornell could do anything, and then you're into Golden Ace and Lossiemouth who won't go, and Amsterdam who's useless. So I don't know. I just think it's not a definite she can't win, personally.
So if I gave you a tenner now to have on one horse in the Champion Hurdle, who would it be on?
Golden Ace.
I think that's
Cornell.
where I'd put my tenner. Yeah.
I'd put it on Cornell because it's your tenner and not mine. But it's too. it's just too difficult. I think at this stage, it's gonna be a long race to break down when we do. But at the minute, I'm just not convinced by any of them. It's a shit. Like I would if Lossiemouth was definitely going, I'd back her at 7-1. But
To be fair, I don't know what more does Golden Ace need to do to convince you.
I mean,
I don't think she can do any more. She won it last year.
But I
won
think
the fight in
she's
5th.
Yeah, but she's probably hit her ceiling, whereas other horses probably haven't. New Lion is open to win a champion hurdle on improvement.
Yeah, but if you break down the the New Lion form, it's got so many cracks in now. I mean, the yellow clay
the yellow clay has not franked it. Final Demand looks.
No, he had one bad run. Final Demand had one bad run.
No, he's soft. He's so soft. He's so soft. The minute that I can tell you now how to beat that horse, get upsides it. As soon as you jump off, upsides it, beat. I know, 100%.
Paul will learn to adapt on that horse.
And the New Lion's beaten Nemean Lion and Brentford Hope wouldn't even be competitive in a county hurdle or a Martin Pipe, I don't think. So if you're backing the New Lion, I think you're taking a massive leap of faith, because what he has done so far does not warrant him to be second favourite for a champion hurdle.
What we need is Low Sun.
God, yeah.
How are you going to do that then?
I don't know how we can do it, but we need Low Sun at about 5-4.
If we all
Low Sun and Henderson declares 5 minutes before declarations close, based on the forecast is sunny, give it me now.
If we all bring a pane of glass and shine it at the sun, and it'll rebound onto the hurdles, they might have to admit.
Yeah, and then we have to do something in the back straight, but we'll worry about that when the sun comes.
Right, well, that's for another day, unfortunately. But I'm a bit more enticed towards Brighterdaysahead than these two are. But very interesting Irish champion hurdle that we had at the weekend there, and it leaves the 2 mile division wide open. Towards the 2 mile Queen Mother division, we had the Dublin Chase that ran on the Sunday as well. Majborough, a horse that if you've been backing all this time, you didn't just finally get paid, you got repented for all the times you backed him. What eventually is the 2-1 second favourite by 19 lengths and is now the highest rated chaser in the game. Beat Marine Nationale, buried him. Found a 50, ran on quite well for third. An argument looks gone at the game. Solness, evidence there. If he doesn't get his time out front, he will lose by 88 lengths, and Sinisia didn't get round. I'll start with you then, Matty, for this one. Majborough, not a horse. Like when you told me last week this was a horse you were going to back, it kind of surprised me for 2 reasons. One, your affection to Marine Nationale, and 2, this just isn't your type of horse. Had to prove a lot. He had to prove he could jump. He had to prove that the engine was as good whenever he did get over his fences. Did both of those things and is now the justified favourite for the champion chase in March.
Yeah, I never doubted the engine, to be honest. That's always been there. I mean, the way that he won the Triumph, that, you don't just lose that ability overnight. The jumping was always the question mark, but you just, he jumped well in the Arkle until he clattered one, and eventually, when a horse has got that much ability, they tend to put it together. I thought the cheek pieces were a brilliant addition. He never struck me as a horse that's keen. I think he just travels well. And
is that how he's going to be ridden in the champion chase? Off the front, bull your fences, cheek pieces.
I think they'll aim to do it that way, but I don't think he has to be ridden like that. Especially with the cheek pieces on now, I think he might just concentrate wherever he is a little bit more. But at the moment, you're struggling to see will anything in an Arkle sort of take him on. I'm not really too sure off the top of my head. So no, I was glad to get it right. Marine Nationale, I don't even know why they ran, to be honest. I just think he doesn't go on the ground. And he put up he travelled slightly into it, going towards 3 out, and made up a tiny bit of ground, but he just a horse that doesn't go on soft ground, you're not going to make up you're not going to make up lengths. Like it just doesn't happen. I think
suppose the logic is they just wanted to get the run into him before the festival.
Absolutely, but you could go for a racecourse gallop or something. I don't. I think Barry Connell, I think he speaks so much, and then he kind of has to run because he can't talk like that and then withdraw. Nicky Henderson pulls his horse out, often stuff, but at least he doesn't talk the talk as much as Barry Connell does. But I'm not saying Majborough's a certainty for the Champion Chase. I think if it came up better ground, I'd have to reconsider Marine Nationale. But it's a race again. I'll just leave until the day, like I'm going to with most of the races now. I think the anti-post markets are dead, to be honest, for Cheltenham. But no, I was delighted to get Majborough right and roll on to the festival.
13 to 8 to win the Champion Chase to beat Marine Nationale at 5-2, Ilite Tomp at 7s, Luda Sud at 7s, this Alask 16 to 1, Quilixios, and then 20s Barth jump on. Presumably looks like he's going to go to the Ryanair now with everything that worked out at the weekend. Is he deserved to be the highest rated chaser in the game, Majborough, for you, Cot?
I mean, after that performance, then I suppose you'd have to find a really good argument for him not to be, and I can't really make a case for the argument to say that he shouldn't be. I did see an interesting point that in the Champion Chase they jump 4 fences at the same time that they jump 2 at Leopardstown. So if he is going to go off and go really quick, to jump 4 fences that quick at Cheltenham when we know he's not the best jumper, although he did jump well last time out in the cheek pieces. I just think, the engine is definitely there. Like Matty said, we all know that to be beaten so little in the Arkle after 2 shuddering errors, it's clear. It's clear to see for everyone that the engine is there. I just think backing a horse now at the 6-4 mark.
Why isn't he a banker for the festival? If he's the highest rated horse, if he deserves to be,
because he's not put he's put one good round of jumping in. He did make the run in last time out, but he had it easy at Cork. When he ran, he was up in the van that day and he made some errors. I know that was right-handed and Leopardstown's left-handed, but I don't know. I just think jumping around Cheltenham is a bit different to jumping around Leopardstown, and I did just have a look at the market, and I think the better the race is Ilite Tomps at 8-1.
There we go.
I think I was at Ascot the last time that ran, and it was definitely on an off day, and it had a heavy fall. It took about 15 minutes to get up after the race, and I'm never a fan of backing a horse that's foul last time out, especially the way that horse was so winded. But I just think, maybe the 8 weeks off or whatever it was from when it fell to Cheltenham might just be enough time for the master trainer to get him back up. And
we've since learned with Ilite Tomp from that fall at Ascot, it wasn't anything physical. He was left down on the ground for 15 minutes to get his heart rate reduced because it was quite high after he'd fallen, presumably just out of panic or anxiety, whatever it might have been. So his physical condition should be tip top. And I believe he's going for a racecourse gallop next week as well. I think it might be Navan. So obviously he's going to have the engine on him. So why not have a crack at 7s?
Yeah, I just don't think there's not 3 better 2-mile chasers in the country than Ilite Tomp on a going day, or probably on an off day. Really, I mean the ground at Ascot was shocking. You'd like to hope that the ground at Cheltenham on the Wednesday won't be as bad as Ascot. And I just think the value is probably with Ilite Tomp at 8-1 than it is with Majborough at 6-4.
Matty?
I just think again, Ilite Tomps, when he had to go a ferocious gallop at Ascot, and that is what got him. I think it was the ground. I think it was a horse who was put way out of his comfort zone. I mean, Townham was never happy. He was sort of weaved him out a bit for better ground and brought him back in. And I just think if anything was to go really hard in an Arkle, I think he might struggle to lay up. To be
Do you
honest,
think? Do you think
I'd
something
be
will
much
go?
more. I'd be much more interested in Ilate Tomps for a Ryanair. However, now he settles. To answer your question, Cart, I don't know actually. I haven't got the Arkle market to hand. I don't know if anyone has, but I'm not sure there's anything in there that's going to go. Sorry, not the Arkle, the Champion Chase. Have we got anything in there that's going to go hell for leather? I don't think Thistleask will run.
I think Quilixios will probably make most of the running. Solness is in
He
there if
won't
he
go
came
hard.
over. It won't
No,
go terribly
Solness,
hard, no. Solness might if he came over. Captain
no,
Guinness is still entered, but like we're talking
no,
real roughies.
no. So Majborough's probably going to make the run, and he can just go as hard as he wants. Yeah,
I just
maybe,
think they.
but
I don't think they'll go as quick, as bad, well, as stupid as it sounds. I don't think they'll go as quick in the Champion Chase as what Thistleask went at Ascot.
Correct. There's not
And
enough pace on the race.
you'd get Paul Townend on Ilate Tomps.
Yeah.
would have to. I suppose you're getting 7-1 because the horse still needs to prove he goes around Cheltenham. I suppose if we knew he went around Cheltenham, you get him 4s, 7-2.
Still think that's harsh. He finished third in Arkle.
Yeah, because he did place behind. Well, Ilate Tomps is the same price as Le de Sud, who he smashed at Sandown, and then the next price is John Bonnet 20-1.
He
So
smashed twice.
I mean, realistically, I think 8-1 is a fair odd. I mean, if anything,
You'd give Le de Sud a good chance if it came up soft. Definitely.
yeah,
Well,
maybe, yeah.
Possibly, yeah. It's a bit of again similar to the Champion Hurdle market there. The Queen Mother seems very, very open at this time, but Majborough looks at the minute, anyways, to be the one to beat at 13-8. Final one of the races from the DRF we're going to take you through was the Irish Gold Cup, won by Factophile at 9-2. It was a Willie Mullins 1-2-3 on the day. Factophile bounced up and got us 3 miles. Gaelic Warrior, another really, really impressive performance in these big Grade 1 staying events. And then the legendary Galopin de Champ only managed third after cutting out most of the running and just failed to get home. A lot to break down here. Matty, Factophile, a horse that we just completely dismissed when we did the podcast last week. My thesis on that was that he just isn't an outright 3-miler because he hasn't won a 3-mile race since the Brown Advisory. Smashed that off the boards. He finally managed to stay on pretty testing conditions as well. Goes into the supplementary markets for the Gold Cup as 4-1. I'll come to Cotty about the market shortly, but assessing this race in the TriCast, Factophile, Gaelic Warrior, Galopin de Champ, what did you make of the entire race? Because there's so many big stories here. I know the way you're thinking. Last year's Gold Cup winner fell at the last when he looked completely destroyed. I am Maximus out the back of the TV again. There's so much to break down from this.
Yeah, plenty. I try not to do it all and leave a bit for you two to talk about. I think obviously we all had doubts about Factophile's staying ability, but the one person who clearly didn't was Willie Mullins, because he's continued to run him in these 3-mile, 3-mile plus Grade 1s. So, and you could tell in his interview afterwards, there was never a doubt in his mind about him staying, but it looks like he's managed to put a full performance together. And to be honest, he looked the winner pretty much all the way around. I thought he was always in his comfort zone, jumping in a rhythm, which is what you need. Gaelic Warrior is a horse I've been massive about on the podcast this year. Ran a great race. I don't think he got the greatest of rides, and that's what concerns me for the Gold Cup. You're going to get Patrick Mullins on board, and I'm not sure. And some people have come out and said that he potentially doesn't stay. I don't agree with that personally. I think he will stay. I think he's got to be given. I think he needs to be ridden quieter. I mean, he jumped off, held up out the back, but it almost looked like Patrick couldn't really hold on to him, and he's just sort of let him get to up in the van. It's not where he needs to be. He needs to be ridden ice cold, like he was at Aintree. When he won round there, delivered late, come with a run, and if they can ride him like that in a Gold Cup, I think he's still the horse to be on. But yeah, I'll leave the rest down to you two to talk about.
Well, I want to come to Cotty about the market. So just on Galopan, finishing third, 13 and a half lengths behind, was very prominent throughout. When they got to 4 and 3 out, the pressure kind of came from those behind. In fact, File kind of sat, and Gaelic Warrior both sat and tailed off him. They went past, and then when Gallopin was asked by Paul, very little in the tank. And as legendary of a horse as this has been at 10, he's becoming very hard to back now.
He is, yeah, but I think there's a reason. I've seen a lot of people saying, that's it, he's gone. Over social media, especially, and I think there's a reason why Willie Mullins is the best trainer in the world of national racing. He obviously doesn't feel that. Paul Townend must not be getting that feel. So maybe there is a chance, just with older age, he's had a slightly delayed season. He missed the John Durkan. Maybe he is just taking a bit more to really get him spot on. Look, you imagine they'll give him a leap of faith at Cheltenham, and if he runs similarly to how he did it last time, maybe they will call it a day. But he was only beaten 13 lengths. There's potentially he's took a blow again, and I wouldn't totally write him off yet.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, like, we're talking about the fact that he's placed in the 2 Grade 1s that he started in this season. It's not as if he's been 25 lengths 8 for something like that, where he's completely shot at the game, and that's kind of reflected, I suppose, in the Gold Cup market. Cotty, Factorfile, now the 4-1 favourite, has to be supplemented because he was taken out of the race, and then the 2 English horses, Django Bay and Jukebox Man, 5s and 6s. Gaelic is 7s. Hazy Colours, who runs this week, we'll talk about shortly, is 10-1, and then Gallopin is 10s. 14's bigger prices about the rest. The immediate thing that you said to me, and it was a very dismissive no, was, would Factorfile go for a Gold Cup? Have you had a bit of a reassessment about that, or are you just point blank, this horse just doesn't go into any Gold Cup?
Well, I'm just thinking of my pocket more than anything. This was probably the race that annoyed me the most, because I thought Gallopin would win, and I probably did 2 out as well. I just thought, right, this Factorfile will just blow up now, and then Gallopin will kick into turbo, which he's showed so many times, and maybe now he's getting on a bit. He just lacks the monster in him, where what's won him so many Gold Cups, where he's after 2 3/4 miles, 3 miles, he's got that other gear that majority of horses don't have, and he hasn't showed that this season, which is slightly frustrating. But he's getting on now, so you can't knock the king. But no, I had this Factorfile down in my head as a Ryanair banker for 3 months, and now he's gone and put in that performance. It's like, I suppose he's going to have to go for it, isn't he? Really, I mean, the 25 grand supplementary fee will be pennies to JP McManus, so that won't be the factor, will it? It'll just be
Did it last year, by another way of thinking.
Yeah, I'd imagine they just have to have the chat with Mullins, and then be interesting to see if he does go. Does Gaelic Warrior then go to the Ryanair? And this is what I was talking about earlier. It's so hard to bet now between now and Cheltenham, because there's so many different angles that when one trainer has so many good horses, it's even harder to try and find your way around.
Willie Bingo is hard at the best of times. Now it's even harder, isn't it? Because, like, Factorfile and Gaelic Warrior are probably going to flip races. Gallopin's probably still going to be ridden by Paul Townend. So, like, the entire scenario for that is so convoluted.
Well, yeah, and it's not just Mullins Bingo now, is it? It's JP. He's got John Bond, and
Majborough. Yeah,
it's so hard to navigate. And then you look at the non-running no bet markets, and they're an absolute shambles. 9 times out of 10, I reckon you get better odds on the day than you would backing a horse non-running no bet now.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
But no, it was a monster performance. It was hard on the steel, wasn't it? The majority of the way round, and in my head, I just thought, just stop now, and not deteriorate, but don't stay and let Gallopin win. But that wasn't to be. So an impressive performance, and I think you're probably right. All roads lead to the Gold Cup.
That's where I was sat with it, yeah, and a fantastic performance from Mark Walsh. A really good ride. Was patient behind Gallopin. When he asked him to kick on, the engine was there. Mark Walsh said afterwards he was never ever concerned about this horse getting 3 miles, and he really has established himself. Obviously, youth is on his side as well against the likes of Galopin de Champ and others, and it leaves the market open. I would like to be able to bet Gaelic Warrior in the Gold Cup, but obviously, if he goes to the Ryanair, that frustrates plans entirely. But
You won't
if he
go
went,
to the Ryanair.
it sounded
He's been
like
beat.
from Willie's
He's been beaten
comments.
He's been beaten a neck in the King George, and he's he's ran superbly in the Leopardstown the other day. I don't think
Yeah,
there
but
was
the
no
best
point that you
performance of the
thought it's not like he travelled there and weakened.
but
He plugged on.
the best performance
That's
he's
not a
had this
horse that
season
doesn't
was
stay.
no, no, no. Of course, he definitely stays. But his best performance on the eye was the John Darkin over 2.5 miles. And if he was able to run like that in a Ryanair, it'd be very very hard for them to catch him. Especially not having a factor file behind you to try and chase you down. I don't want to see him go to a Ryanair, but visually I can see if I was to plan out everything right now, he's more likely to be a Ryanair contender than a Gold Cup.
I don't know. He needs to be ridden cold in a Gold Cup. That's what he needs.
Yeah. Plus, obviously, if Gaelic Warrior went to the Ryanair, Townend would be on that. If there was any Patrick Mullins concerns out there, I don't have any, but some people do. But that's the markets anyway sorted for the 3 races that we could have taken out of the Dublin Racing Festival. Just quickly, performances of the week. I'll put mine in first here. It wasn't a horse that ran, but it was one that I backed, and it was a bit unfortunate not to possibly get up. In the juvenile race on the Monday, Selma Davari, who's only been with Willie Mullins now for a couple of weeks, is 7-1 for the juvenile hurdle. It's a bit of a Cheltenham choice if you want to say it like that. Against
Couple of weeks.
Narciso
He was with
Haas.
him in November.
Yeah, but he's only been in pre-training for a couple of weeks. They haven't had the horse for that long. If you did your research, so it's 7-1.
He's been in Cold Sutton since the middle of November.
Yes, but he hasn't been in training for the last. He's only been in training for the last couple of weeks. He's been sat in the stables doing nothing. So Willie's not had enough of a chance with him, and he goes 7-1 for the triumph. And I think that to turn the form against Narciso Haas at 5-4 is just something that could happen. Narciso Haas was very very good, but I think they should be a lot closer in the market personally. Go on, Uncle Sutton Master. Who was your performance of the week?
I think you'd be stupid to look past Factor File in the Gold Cup. I think was a monster performance.
Back to file for the Gold Cup was the most impressive for you. What was yours, Matty?
Sandown on Saturday. Henri II for Nichols and Cobden won the £100,000 handicap. Not many horses win a 3-mile race on the bridle on heavy ground around Sandown. I thought that was absolutely phenomenal performance for me. It just sounds like he needs those conditions to be seen at his best, but there's obviously a huge engine in there. But yeah, I thought it was phenomenal.
Yeah, that was a nice performance, and that's a stable, obviously, that are continually progressing and are hopefully going to have a couple of winners at the festival this year. That's something they would obviously very much like to take home and get themselves into the big time of racing. That was the Dublin Racing Festival then, and it is time for this week's sort of Big Five. So off the back of a technical error that you won't have seen, we are racing this week, would you believe it, Newbury as well as Warwick. We've got 3 races to take you from this week as we went quite over there with the Dublin Racing Festival. And we'll be sharp and shooting with these ones because they are quite obvious races to have bets in. First, those are the 210 at Newbury. Ignore the 110 there. The William Hill Denman Chase. It's a grade 2, over 2 miles, 7.5 furlongs. Kind of the last gasp, I would say, if any of these have got Gold Cup contentions. And Haiti Colors is the 4-6, 4-7 favourite at the top of the market here. For Rebecca Curtis, what a fantastic horse it's been for her. Django Bay won't go by the sounds of things from Nicky Henderson, so then you're into Long Press, Leave of Absence, Master Chewy, Risk in the Ground. Matty, you know what these 3-milers are like at the best of times. The Open Company ones in England, they're particularly not great. Bar a couple, I suppose, at the top. But Haiti Colors comes here as the short-priced favourite to renew efforts possibly of winning the big Gold Cup in the spring, and that comes obviously off the back of winning the Welsh National, the Irish National, the National Hunt Chase last year. It's just been a rock consistent horse, and gets its opportunity here to present itself as a Gold Cup contender.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it short. This is going to end up being 3 runners. Haiti Colours will win, but no, it's got no chance in a Gold Cup.
Why not though? I mean, obviously the runs have been more sensed over the national distances and whatnot, so that might be the better target. But it's possible to win a Grade One.
I just think, we saw when he went to Haydock, I know there was excuses potentially, but that was the first time he stepped up into open graded company and he couldn't do it. This race on Saturday is going to give us no clue as to whether he can, you know, towards the Gold Cup. He's going to hack round in front, probably. Actually, no, Long Press will go on in front and he'll probably follow Long Press, go past up the straight, and we don't learn anything. But yeah, I don't think he's got the class for a Gold Cup. I think he's a relentless galloper. Let's see him in the Grand National probably. That's the way I'd go if he was my horse.
Yeah, I was just playing devil's advocate with you. I agree. He'll win here on Saturday. He's got no chance in the Gold Cup. Cotty, hat trick. You actually
Yeah.
bet this horse, I believe, just a couple hours before as well, and Django Bay's been taken out, so you've got a nice prize.
Yeah, last night I had 50 quid on at 11 to 10, so hopefully it'll be a free 55 quid come Saturday. I can cash out now for 62p extra, so that's nice of them.
Just think, if Matty didn't have a haircut yesterday, you could have got that tip out in time and had some good value. So
I know, yeah. His barber's only open one day a week though, so we'll have to.
what worst excuse we've ever had for
Obviously-
a podcast being late was I've got a
Obviously,
haircut.
Obviously, I didn't have a haircut yesterday. That was last Tuesday.
So we
yeah.
could have just done the podcast yesterday.
Uh,
Brilliant.
busy.
We'll move on then to the 320 from Newbury, not Kempton. The William Hill Hurdle used to be the Betfair back in the day. It's a shame that's changed, actually. I could never imagine the Haydock Chase being the William Hill Chase. It's a Premier over 2 miles, half a furlong. Lickety split. I love these races, Matty. Just 2 miles, handicap, go fucking hard for it, and something has to win. The big gamble in the race is Let It Rain, 11 stone, Dan Skelton, 11 to 4. You would be a brave man to want to take a Dan Skelton gamble off at a handicap, wouldn't you?
You would, yeah, but I think at the prices, she's just a bit too short. I'll take her on with 2. She could go and win hard held, and she's going to make a mockery of 124, but she's short enough to do so. So, first one, I'm going to stick up at a big price, 33 to 1. Has been nibbled at him from 50s, though, is Bubble Dubby for Stuart Edmonds and Charlie Hammond. Obviously a fragile horse, very lightly raced for his age, but he came back and won around Aintree back in November, very, very impressively by 11 lengths. And just on the untapped potential, he might be a bit better than 129. I think he's going to get his conditions here, soft to heavy ground, 2 miles. Stuart Edmonds always seems to be banging out the winners, just seems to tick away, but always seems to be in and around the winners' enclosure. Thought it was a massive prize. And my big fancy for the race is going to be Tutti Quanti for the Nichols team, Harry Cobden on board. Beating Divar Blue over course and distance. Last time that form's been franked, and Divar Blue went on to win a nice race around Newbury again, I believe. Needs soft ground, this horse, much more effective on soft ground. Started his season at Chepstow on good ground, was well beaten, but all of his performances on softer ground have been good, and the form backs it up. He's got to carry top weight here, but I'm hoping there's still a bit of room left. They were on about going novice chasing with this horse at the start of the season, but they've obviously identified that they can pick up some good money and handicap hurdles throughout the season, and I think 9 to 1 looks a very nice price.
Yeah, variety of performances and prices there for you. One at the top of the market and then one down at the bottom there. Probably nice to have a couple in these races, to be fair. I only managed to pick out the one, really. I was struggling. I was going to put Reckless Eric up at 28 because I've backed him a load, but I just can't really see him winning a race of this caliber. So I went with Unson Alavi for the Twiston Davises, winner of its second point-to-point at the end of 2024, won its bumper at Market Raising, has been 2 for 4 over rules since, with wins at Ludlow and Market Raising coming over 2 miles. Was second to All Park Star at Kempton. Obviously, that form should be the form line really for the Supreme. All Park Stock, I think, is the favourite for that very, very good horse. And All Park Stock has just continued to, back that form up time after time. The only disappointing run in there was when he was seventh to Fortune de Mer, but it was only 7 lengths out of the race. They were all kind of flailing across the line within 5 or 6 seconds of each other that day. So kind of consistent form lines. Possibly just I like the unexposure here. He's rated 130, so 11.6 isn't awful to carry in a race like this for a 6-year-old. So I thought 6-1 pretty fair at the top of the markets there. But again, if this Skelton horse goes and wins by 15 lengths, it's plot job central stuff, really, isn't it? And I wouldn't be too surprised. But when Son Alavi caught my eye, Cotty, the Betfair, the William Hill, sorry.
Yeah, no, a very, very good race, valuable prize. There is two I like. I'll start with the boring one. Let It Rain, I think, is a fair price, 11-4, albeit probably a bit short. But in my opinion, I think it's fair enough. If I can get an 11-4 win on a Saturday, I'm more than happy. It's only gone at £4 from its last run, but I think the way it was ridden was definitely ridden to win at Newbury on Saturday than it was to win at Ascot. I'd imagine this has been the plan ever since it was ruled out last season. I think it had a nasty injury after Weatherby. I think, is that right, Matty?
Yeah, I think suffered a bad cut that day, and she's just took a bit of getting right, I believe.
Yeah, so I'd say that's got a fair chance and is definitely the worthy favourite off a mark of 124. I'd like to think that she's a lot better than that. Another one I like at a big price is the Hardest Geezer at 20-1 for the Philip Hobbs team. Ran well at Windsor last day, last time out. Came fourth behind Hot Fuzz. Has been dropped £1 in the handicap for that. Hot Fuzz has got gone at £5 for that win. Got in tight to the last. Was only beaten by 6 lengths, 5-6 lengths, I think it was. And I'd be quite keen on him reversing the form with that one. Nothing was really coming from the back that day at Windsor. So no, I'd quite fancy the chances on the Hardest Geezer to run into a place.
Splitting the prices there again. Happy to take Let It Rain at the top of the market and the Hardest Geezer at a bigger price. Some might even say you're the Hardest Geezer, Cotty.
It's a pretty poor pattern, that, Bob.
225 is the middle distance veterans handicap chase. I love these races, always been a good favourite of mine. That comes from Warwick, not Kempton, Warwick. 2.5 mile series qualifier. I think this is the last one. There might be one after it to come. And it's another Skelton horse at the top of the pops. Lamilos, Harry Atkins takes 7 off. That good friend of yours, Matty. Nappers Hill's in there at 4-1 for Nichols, and then when it's big prices about the rest. The good thing is, you talk about exposure in certain races. You don't have to worry about any of these being unexposed because they've all ran about 57 times. Most of them have won. All of them have won at one stage or another in their career. So you bet into these races kind of with the entertainment purpose at the top of your mind when you're watching them as well, because kind of like a Class 5 at Wolves on a Monday, anything could beat anyone on its day. It's just figuring out what's on its day and what's likely to win off its mark.
Yeah, my angle with these veterans races is I like to favour the 10-year-olds. So obviously horses that have only just turned 10 in January. So, this is a lot of their first runs in Veterans Company. And I do think it's a massive step down for the likes of Nappers Hill, actually going to be my selection in the race. You've got Grande Dame in there, Guard Your Dreams. There's an Irish horse coming over as well, and Outlaw Peter. So I like to look at them, but I think Nappers Hill is definitely the best of these horses on his day. When you go back through his hurdle form, he's a graded winner over hurdles around Wincanton, and I think a couple of times actually around Wincanton, and he's got form behind John Barn in there and other good horses. I just think this is a much calmer waters for him, and 4-1 I think it's a great price. Freddie Gingle will ride, and obviously he's having a great season. Lamilos is a worthy horse at the top of the market, but again I just think Nappers Hill, slightly fresher legs, been running in harder races, drops down in grade here, and I think he'll be hard to beat, even though he's carrying top weight.
Yeah, the new kid on the block at Ditchy, Freddie Angel, might have some massive rides to come in the next 12 months for Paul Nicholls, the 13-time, I believe, champion trainer. 12 stone he'll carry into his new veteran life. Cotty, yeah, like similar again here. I mean, value comes in anything that you back when it's 100 to 30 the field, but you're just looking for things that, might enjoy 2.5 miles off a good weight, might like Warwick. There's a lot of sort of subtle things you can look out for here, and that led you to pick who?
I couldn't split the top two in the market, really. I think Matty made really good points about Nappers Hill and the points that I was going to make. I do remember this race last year. Lamilos was absolutely smashed in. I think it went off something like 6-5 or something. And I remember doing the podcast this time last year, and when we were talking about it was about the 3-1 mark, and it pissed in. So that day it was off a mark of 139. It's off a mark of 140 this time round. But obviously with Atkins' £7 claim, you could say he's got a rating of 133. So he's maybe carrying £6 less than he was last year on official ratings. Harry Atkins is riding well at the minute. You wouldn't say it's a steal, the £7 claim, but it wouldn't be far off. I couldn't really make a point for any of the others in the race. So I don't know if I'll back anything singularly. I might have a look at the reverse forecast or those two to finish in the top three or something like that. But if you want an out and out tip, I'd probably just edge with the slightly bigger price on Nappers Hill, and hopefully his back form can come to the front to land this.
Nappers Hill just taking the slightly bigger price. That I can't believe you can remember this podcast a year ago. By the way, I can't remember what I had for me tea last night. That's quite impressive. I sort of struggled a little bit, but just a horse that's been running really consistent in these veterans races for a good minute now. That's not. There's a spoiler for the nap of the week. Torn and Frayed at 7-1 just kind of caught my eye. Won at Aintree on the whatever the new day is called, the Halloween day out that they have there. Quite convincingly by 2 lengths off 131. It's only gone up a pound since for the 3 runs since. 2 seconds, one to Nocte Volatus and to Can You Call at Warwick and Cheltenham. So there's consistent runs. I backed it at Cheltenham, was a bit lost by 7 lengths. I was happy to take the each way money that day, but I thought there's enough progression there. If you can run well enough as a veteran at Cheltenham to be able to come to somewhere like Warwick and be able to perform again. He's won here before. He's been a model of consistency over 2.5 miles now for a good minute. So I thought 7-1 might just be a bit of a poke, but these are very difficult, these races. So just something I wanted to take a little bit of a stab at a bigger price, but you two make good cases for the top of the market, and it might just land there. That is the big 5/3 from Warwick and Newbury this week to come up. And it is time now for our nap of the weeks. Suppose I may as well just start with mine because I accidentally put the graphic up there a minute ago. I'm off to Navan this week for mine. There's a couple of grade 2s. It's a nice little card. This Boyne Hurdle takes place, but I didn't fancy anything in that. But Gold Dancer's top of the pops here at 150. These are still on SPs. You don't get the Irish prices till Friday, unfortunately, in England. But Jigginstown horse has been running really super consistently. Really for the last couple of seasons. Now, this year it's been 2 seconds, but the form lines are what you want to take out of this. Was second to Ferryhouse to Romeo Coolio, who was obviously mightily impressive that day, and then second to Final Demand in the Faheen. Obviously, I know Matty was very dismissive of him earlier, but I'm happy to say that Final Demand still holds the majority of the 3-mile novice form lines this season. Ran a good second, was there for most of the race, lost by 8 lengths in the end, but I was impressed by his jumping. He was just, really a good, consistent type over that trip as well. Steps up from the 2.5 up to the full 3 miles here, and really, I suppose, if you look at the rest of the horses that are in here, Oscar's Brother's been a very good horse for the young Connor King, is on a back-to-back, but then you go to the rest of the horses in the race. You've got the likes of Soldier, Milan, the Walk Park. I don't think they're consistent 3-mile novice changes yet, so I think Gold Dancer should be about an even shot on Sunday and should hopefully get the job done. He was it 8 in a row? He's now 9 and 10, and I think 11 and 15 since we started doing the naps for the podcast in October. Shit hot, I believe, is the phrase, Cotty. Let's get back into the winners' enclosure with a back-to-back.
Yeah, I'm going to go over to Newcastle on Sunday in the 3:30 handicap hurdle. Our mate Tristan takes a ride. A Denom should take all the beating here, really. Mark's unchanged last time out from coming third in the Lanzarote hurdle. Won 2 on the bounce before that at Leicester and Cheltenham. I just think this is a very good horse, and there shouldn't really be anything in this field to trouble this horse. There's another one in there for Scoutons for the same owners as well, so I'd imagine that won't run. No jockeys jocked up on that. When you go up this far north, you've always got to watch out for Donald McCain and Brian Hughes duo, but that horse looks up against it for me on ratings and form. So no, Tristan, he went up to Newcastle the other week and rode a treble. So when Dan goes up that far, he normally means business, and I think that will be a good bet on Sunday to hopefully get a few more naps in and get the pot up for Cheltenham.
Yeah, they're now claim-free, Tristan Dorrell. They're taking the ride on a Nom, who still seems very well handicapped, doesn't he, off a couple of nice performances this year as 124, and goes up to the lovely northeast to try and take the ride there on the Sunday. Matty, it's a lot of good domestic action this weekend. It's nothing thrilling, but you might just be able to kind of chop something in at a nice price. And you're due a nap, so let's find you one. Microphone's on mute. We've only been doing this podcast for 3 years, by the way. You'd think you'd learn by now.
Sorry.
Try again.
Struggled for a nap this week, to be honest. You've got to bear in mind the ground. A lot of horses are doubly entered with the potential abandonments under question. So I'm going to stick with Warwick in the Novice Chase, the Kingmaker. No, I didn't think of that. Mambo number 5 runs for Ben Paulin and Ben Jones. 5-year-old who's looked really progressive over fences. Steps up here retains his run here in graded status, and I just think he's got so much more to give, this horse, and fences look to have built him. He's only a 5-year-old, but I think there's plenty more to come from him, and happy to take on Steel Ally here. I think that he's very consistent, wins races, but I think the form of Mambo number 5 already looks well clear of what Steel Ally's achieved.
Chasing a 4-timer Mambo number 5 there as well in the Kingmaker on Saturday. It looks like Lulamba, of course, is going to go to Newbury at the weekend, so there's not too much to take him on. Nap of the week's into the book then, and that is the end of the Big Five for this week. We've got a sort of side match bet going on as well between weekend plans, which is what I always enjoy asking Cotty what he does. And Warwick was on the table, but it might not be now. What's the situation with the weekend, Cotty?
Just waiting for Matty to give me the all clear, and then we'll make the trip to Warwick to watch some jump racing. Doesn't look like the Lambert's running, but there's still a half decent card nonetheless. I think it's only 25 quid to get in, or something around that mark, so not too expensive. So drive down to Warwick.
He's got a haircut on 2:00 on Saturday, Matty. Did he not tell you?
No, I'd never ever book a haircut for a Saturday. This podcast can wait, but certain things can't.
All right, priorities.
Looking like I'm gonna get myself over to Warwick on Saturday, I think. But looking at the forecast, I'm not holding out too much hope, because once that the banks of the river burst down the back straight, that you can wave goodbye to that meeting. So also worried about my car getting stuck parking on the grass in the middle of the course, but no, we'll work it out. And it's been a lot but I think I haven't been to a race course since Boxing Day, I think, which That's an awfully long time for me. So no, definitely due a day's racing, and it's nice that they've moved the Jane Seymour Novices Hurdle from Sandown to the Warwick on Saturday. So you're getting 8 races, 2 Grade 2s, a brilliant veterans race, and there's even a very decent mares bumper at the end of the card. So I think you're getting a very good meeting there at Warwick on Saturday.
Yeah, nice advertisement to come race. I don't think I'll go racing between now and the festival. I've got
No,
Cheltenham
you'd rather
against...
go to MK Dons at home on a Saturday.
Yeah,
rather than
I'm
Warwick,
thinking about Cheltenham against MK Dons on Saturday. What a treat that'll be. I'll back the 0-0 now, and we'll get paid at 6-1. So
There's
not the
no
most
way
exciting.
Cheltenham would keep a clean sheet.
That's a good point, yeah. Got beat at the weekend as well. They're in awful form, unfortunately. But my priorities come on Sunday. It's Super Bowl weekend, so very excited to be covering that in the early hours on Sunday. That's it then. Big 5 into the books.
Bob's nap of the week is the Gatorade shower to be orange, from what he put in the group chat last night. So
I'm tempted to put it up. Right, so I've
Oh,
gone over here. But if you want to, and I can't stress gambling responsibly here, the 2 Gatorade markets for the Super Bowl on Sunday, back orange and clear, 9-4 and 10-1. That'll be the 2 winners. So rather than back Seattle to win, just back orange Gatorade, because if they win, it'll be orange Gatorade. So higher price if you wanted to back one of the sides on Sunday. And that is serious.
Bob, you've just pushed us over the hour mark talking about the Gatorade shower. So
not my problem. I didn't bring it up. Thank you very much for joining us, folks. It's been a pleasure. Good fun this week. We'll be back next week to break these races down and to start looking more and more towards the Cheltenham Festival. There's red lights going on outside my house. That means someone needs to get in. So we will see you next week, folks. Thank you and take care.